Hello and welcome here in LaToken Venture Capital TV. My name is Xavier Borja, manager of VCTV, and like every session, we bring you the innovation, technology, and solutions you want to hear about. And during all our sessions, you get to hear directly from the CEOs or the relevant people working in the field. Today, in this panel, I'm very happy to introduce one of our first topics about the metaverse. As we all know, the metaverse is something that is in everybody's mouths right now. There's a lot of hype around it. So we thought very convenient to have this topic, the rise of the metaverse and why does it matter. And with us, we have three special guests that I would like, please, to each of you can introduce yourself. And as the usual, ladies first. Irene, can you please tell us a little about yourself?
Sure. Thank you, Javier. Hi, everyone. My name is Irene. I am a co founder and also country manager for YGGC in Indonesia.
Thank you.
YGGC is basically a sub-DAO of Gil Games. For those of you who do not know YGG yet, we are the first sub-DAO of the YGG focusing in Southeast Asia.
Okay. Thank you very much. Great to have you here. As you are immersed in the metaverse, then you'll be a great point of knowledge for us today. Gary, please, could you
Yeah,
introduce
it's
yourself?
great to be here, Javier. My name's Gary Fowler. I'm a serial entrepreneur and investor. I've done 17 startups and involved in 2 unicorns. I was on the original management team of Click Software, which was sold to Salesforce for 1.35 billion, and also Eva.ai, an AI HR tech company that I co-founded with Dr. David Yang. I'm the CEO, president, and co-founder of GSD Get Shit Done Venture Studios. We're a premier AI and quantum venture studio located in Palo Alto, California. We believe that intellectual capacity is evenly spread around the world, but opportunities aren't. And we love the metaverse. I've just written 2 articles in Forbes about the metaverse.
Oh, fantastic. I hope you can share some of that knowledge with us today.
Sure, no problem.
Great. Dr. Srikant, can you please introduce yourself?
So, I'm the novice in the gang. I'm quite new to this particular space, but I see this moving all around me. I'm a legal counsel for the who's who of the family offices in India. So that being said, I have way back in about way back in 2016, which is 6 7 years back. We were exploring the idea of AR, VR, and so on and so forth. And we were trying to do that for a real estate company, and to see that evolve into a gaming kind of platform is something that we would love to see. And India matters a lot because we have 1.3 billion population, of which 70% have access to internet, but not so much to gaming. And some
Mhm.
statistics to it. There's about only 3% penetration of gaming in India. So you have 70%, which is data available, but 3% utilization, which is roughly we are utilizing only 5% of the total capacity. So that is something that India could play a very large role after China, is what my firm belief is. And here to learn more and give you a perspective of what we expect to invest uh, in an idea of this particular nature, where we are struggling to understand the I would say the customer profile, or the user profile, and so on and so forth. So that is something which I have got a lot of gray hairs to actually not talk about this particular topic, but enough black hairs to actually or dark hairs to actually say something about this particular topic.
Thank you very much for that insight. We're very much looking forward for it. And also one of our newest panelists, Hendrik. How are you today?
I'm very good. I'm very good. I have some problems with the technology here. I have to join you via my cell phone because I just cannot get in through my computer. It doesn't let me in. It says I'm backstage, but somebody has to let me in, I guess.
Okay, we'll take care of that. Henrik, can you please introduce yourself?
Yeah, my name is Hendrik. I'm from Munich, Germany. I'm a TV producer, broadcast network owner. We have a network here in Germany, a nationwide, and another one in Switzerland. This is my main business. So I'm in the content industry since more or less all of my life, more specialized here in the German-speaking territories. But we used to work with all those content platforms globally. And a couple of years ago, we decided to change the distribution of content quite dramatically. That was the beginning of the Milk platform, which is basically a blockchain-based virtual professional content trading marketplace for any professional content producer and buyer. That is how it all started. And at a certain point, we were thinking about how could our website look like. And suddenly the opportunity of thinking about a three-dimensional, more sophisticated website came along, thanks to some sophisticated programming languages like Babylon JS and all these kind of things. And while we were developing that, suddenly Facebook came along and called the whole thing Metaverse and Microsoft. So it was just a coincidence that we are really developing in the same direction. So we launched our Metaverse already on the 19th of November last year. So it's live, and it's supposed to become a place where the media and entertainment industry can gather together, work together, but it's also open for the community. So that's basically a little bit the philosophy that we try to build a bridge between the professional media industry and the audience. And the Metaverse structures give us really a perfect platform to really bring that together.
Thank you very much for that information, Hendrik, and great to have you here. Considering that you're Metaverse before the Facebook Metaverse was named. So, to all our viewers, this is the first of a few series of panel discussions. We will be talking about the Metaverse and everything around it. In order to start, just a brief, can say an intro. Please remember, nothing in this panel discussion is any type of a financial advice. Please always do your research, and this is just a little bit of education for our traders, which is the most important thing. So, said that, let's jump on the topic, the Metaverse itself. As we all know, as you mentioned, Facebook changed its name to Meta.
Can't hear right now.
Sorry, can you hear me now? Is it better? Are we good now? Hello? Are we good now? Are we good? Okay, perfect. As I was saying, we all know that Meta declared the Metaverse to be the future of the internet, and Epic, the maker of the online multiplayer game Fortnite, raised $1 billion funding, showing that investors are willing to put the big money into immersive experiences. Now, one of the first questions is, why has the Metaverse become such a buzzword? Irene, would you like to take this first question?
I guess being the only ladies here is gonna take the first part.
Ladies first.
Oh well, yeah, sure. So I think it's just all the timing is aligned because, like you mentioned earlier, Facebook just rebranded themselves as Meta. In the past few years, a lot of people are going into this space, but the hardware, the technology was just not there yet, and the institutional investors are not seen in the space yet. But 2021 going towards 2022 this year, we see a lot of people jump in right to this space, and we see that the technology is starting to be mature enough for people to actually see the real thing on what is actually metaverse. In the past few years, people just say that, oh, this is the metaverse, but they can't really picture it, right? But right now, there are actual products that people could see and experience. And so that's the huge difference, because in Indonesia, we call it tak kenal maka tak sayang, which basically means if you don't know a person or if you don't know something, there's no way you can fall in love with it. And that was what Metaverse has been before in the past. People were just listening to it, but they never experienced it. Right now, the moment they experience it, there's no turning back.
Yep. Yep. I agree with that. Gary, what do you say? Why do we such a hot buzzword out of nowhere? Basically, since Facebook started to change the name.
Well, because one of the things, Javier, that we've been doing, we've been going down through this digital transformation. And what 2018 StreamYard was founded up in Canada. Zoom, I was one of the early Zoom users over 6 years ago. So we've started to all move into this, evolve into this new environment. The other thing is we're now connected. And I've had some companies in the last couple of weeks. In fact, I have two metaverse companies inside of my portfolio today. But these companies, for instance, one of them, it's for people that are tied into a wheelchair that can't walk for whatever reason, and now they have XR and MR and goggles associated with it, almost like Avatar, right? So they can become part of the real world. Um, and it's evolved. We're moving. Look at what's happening with blockchain. Look at what's happening with tokenization. Look at what's happening with AR, VR. I mean, this is the natural evolution of where we want to go. Here's one thing that's really interesting. One of my companies is called Cosmic. We need to go down through inside of this metaverse and start to reinforce, in my opinion, good behavior, right? Compassion, empathy. We've been so tied up in just doing business that we got to look at things differently. We've got to figure out how to be able to make the planet a better place. And I'm hearing this every day, or almost every day, from companies, especially ones that are on the edge of the metaverse and some that are coming into the metaverse. So the technology, as Irene said, is finally up to speed, having the right kind of compute power, whether NVIDIA or whatever servers that you're using, having technology at the level where it's finally becoming possible. How much is it going to change over the next couple of years? A lot. We're having emerging, the population of the planet is going to go from 8.1 billion to 13 billion by the end of this century. At the same time, we've got to democratize opportunities, and the metaverse allows us to be able to democratize the opportunities in a way we've never been able to do before. So, but at the same time, there's a lot of hype and BS, and you've got to really filter through it to figure out where are those companies, what are those companies, are they going to really make a dent in the universe? Because whenever you come into a new market, there's so much hype, and I started one of the first e-commerce consulting companies back in the late 90s. People said it's never going to happen. People are not going to use their credit cards online. Well, look how the world's changed. At the time, we were talking about a marketplace, a niche market of 30 billion. Well, that's far, far greater than what we forecasted back in 1998. So it's a great opportunity, but we need to use it wisely. We need to make sure that whatever we set up inside this metaverse, in my opinion, is helping to be able to make the world a little bit better place. We got a lot of challenges, Javier, in front of us. We got global warming. We've got population increases. And global warming, the average temperatures could be up 7 degrees. So how do we use the metaverse in the right way? How to democratize the opportunity? And how do we make our lives better?
So I think the important thing is that you do believe then the metaverse can have a positive effect on our everyday lives.
If we use it in the right way. We have to use it in the right way. I'm serious. We've got a lot. One of my papers coming out is called about the extinction of humanity within the next 250 to 300 years. And I'm writing this article because I deal with four-star admirals, former number 2 guys in the U.S. military. I deal with actresses. I deal with politicians. I interview them. I talk ultra high net worth individuals, and people are really concerned. We need to bring humanity together, and the metaverse allows us to do it. But this is one of the times where there's not, should we do it? We have to use it in the right way, and we have to figure out how we can get along and work together instead of trying to kill each other.
I agree with that. I agree. Okay, we're going to go back a little bit on this topic in a few questions for now. Srikant, do you think also that this is just do you consider this just a buzzword, a phase, or you think this is something that will actually the metaverse is here to stay?
No, one thing that psychology has always taught us, or how humans behave. I believe we always evolve, and this is one kind of evolution that we are going through at the moment. We are living in a digitized world. We are exploring things which we didn't explore in the past. So, but the points which I would like to bring up is alongside the points that Gary mentioned. The humanity has to be together. It's a fantastic addition to the behavioral psychology of humanity. But that being said, we need to take into account the legal repercussions of such a universe being created, and what happens in that particular universe. Uh, it I do not know whether this is a good analogy for this particular, but it should not turn out to be one of those Pokemon. We kept on searching those Pokemon
Yeah,
things, and India particularly faced a lot of crisis on that, because a lot of young Gen Zs actually started searching for it, and so what happened was a lot of accidents happened in public roads, and that was a major concern for the government,
because they were
because
being distracted chasing the characters of Pokemon.
yes. I think the legal repercussions are quite significant, because when we are talking about an alternate universe, not alternate universe, what they show in Interstellar, but a alternate universe which is created by us. We are talking about actions which have been performed in that alternate universe, whether those are performed by us, right,
Hmm.
or are they performed in a different capacity. So, felonies or any misdemeanors in that particular universe, how does that translate into an actual action which has been induced by you in this particular universe? So, I'm not sure if this actually makes sense, but there is a particular term called mens rea in criminology and victimology, which means that you need to have that bent of mind to do a particular act. And when you're talking about a metaverse universe, we are talking about the mens rea not existing at all, right? We don't have that mens rea, or we don't have that mental capacity to know what is going to happen. So it could very well be a PUBG that we're playing, and I do not quite know. It's too early for me to say. I would rely on experts like Gary and Irene, to explain to me what it would look like and what it would be, because we do not quite know who's behind that. So we already have that barrier in a digital world, but again, 3D universe and so on and so forth. It seems a little too much even for my son, I believe, who's 5 years old.
Mhm. I completely agree with you in that point, and it's very interesting that you Shrikant and you Gary touched the topic about the risks of the metaverse, because obviously it's all the positive side, but it can have another face, which is the risk, and we're going to touch that point as a last question today. But before that, I want to move on to the next one, and I think Hendrik, you're the appropriate person to answer this, because for the other panelists, I already had into the chance to interview Hendrik, and I know that he has been working on what you would call now a metaverse project for a few years before the metaverse was coined the metaverse. So he has been already in this mindset. And as we know, the metaverse itself as a concept is not really new. Back in the 2000s, there were a lot of forerunners to the metaverse. I don't know if you remember Second Life or Habbo Hotel. They at that time in the 2000s was a big thing, and even now, Second Life still has 200,000 daily active users. It was not coined the metaverse, but it was the same concept. So, Hendrik, why do you think the metaverse, as such, will take off this time? Why is it here to stay?
Yeah, because Second Life back then was a cool idea, very innovative, but was more or less a game. Yeah, people could do something into that metaverse, but yeah, it was kind of a closed shop thing, a closed world. In our days, what I call metaverse is the opportunity to match reality with the digital world. This is actually the beauty out of my perspective. Just one example. Any website is a two-dimensional website. So whenever you surf through the web, you're entering websites, but you do not know what is left on that website or right on that website. So you're just hitting a single spot, and each website, which is maybe represented by a company, fights for itself. Those three-dimensional environments, which are possible now thanks to some technologies, and that was the missing point all the time, gives us the opportunity to cooperate. So many partners can join one space. Let's call it a metaverse. Maybe an example, you generate kind of a new Detroit motor metaverse city, a place where all the car companies can join. I think it's much more efficient to give the community a place where I can, for example, buy a car by choosing from brand to brand and make my decision instead of surfing to BMW, to Mercedes, to Cadillac, whatever. Yeah, so those are the opportunities. And the other beauty is that suddenly the web becomes more understandable for everyone. For example, that's why we choose a three-dimensional city center. This is how it looks like. And the funny thing was that especially females reacted really strong. And most of the time, they're not that into those technical boy stuff. They just step back a little bit. In this particular case, they all came to me as a little bit like, can I do this? Can I do shopping? Can I do buy furniture for my own little milk townhouse, what we provide our community with? Can I do this? Can I do that? Suddenly, I realized they get the idea much easier because of that kind of three-dimensional environment, because it really reflects the reality the way it is more than the web has done it during the last 20 years or 30 years. Yeah, and taking that into your mind, I really think that the digital world becomes or is getting really closer to the real world. Yeah, so those two worlds are matching somehow. I foresee that in a couple of years, a city like Munich, where I am, will take all their geodata they generate the virtual Munich, and I go shopping in Munich without leaving my house, but I actually entering the store the way it is in the city, in reality. So it's my choice whether I do it virtually or physically. Yeah. So that's why I really think this is not a future. I think it's the future.
Okay, thank you. Thank you for that feedback, Hendrik. Irene, do you agree with that? Metaverse this time will stay?
I agree with that, and that's why I'm showing it by being the only one in a filter. So totally agree with that. But I also agree with what Gary mentioned earlier, that it needs to be done with cautions, right? I think in everything in life, and it's not only the metaverse, even the most nutritious food in the world, if we eat too much of it, it is not good for us. Everything in life is got to be balanced, especially something as new as the metaverse. I think I mentioned it in our previous session, Javier, that for anyone who would like to see what's the danger and what's the potentials that could come off from Metaverse, it's to watch the movie called as Ready Player One. It's amazing in that Metaverse world, but it also serves as a reminder. Do we want that our real world to be the way it's depicted in the movie? And with that as a reminder, it was also reminding us humans that it's on our hands, that the global warming, whatever that's happening out there, it's not only environmental issues, but we also have a lot of social issues. And it's time for humans to really wake up. And so both could be merged because Metaverse is here to improve our life and technology is here to improve our lives so that we could reach our highest potentials. But we also have to take care and not take for granted what we already have.
Thank you for that. I see that in Metaverse, then there's a lot of potential social context where things can be improved. Because from what I see and what I'm reading all the time about Metaverse is more about the entertainment area. Very few articles are focusing or linking the metaverse within a social context on how to improve certain part of our real lives. I think it's more directed and how can it be used to entertain people. I think that's something that's a little bit missing, maybe from the media. That, as Gary said, and as Irene, you said as well, can be used to improve our actual lives, our real lives. Otherwise, it just looks like the future is one of these utopias, like in Ready Player One, where people have a really bad real life and they go to a metaverse to live the life of their dreams. I think that's a little bit like what somehow maybe the media is a little bit feeding us. So that's, I think, something that is really interesting. I think probably we should make another discussion about that to see about the social implications and how to make it even better. To our viewers, I would like to remind you that yes, you are able to post your questions. If you have any question about this concrete topic, the metaverse, feel free to drop us a message and we'll post it here. And we do have the first ones coming in. I will be just dropping there. For Manjum, hi there. Is the metaverse the future in real estate?
This is what everyone is asking. Yeah.
Yeah.
And actually, it's kind of obvious. Even in our metaverse, everyone is asking me, can I buy a house? Can I buy a property? Can I own something? We made the decision in our metaverse that it's not possible. Yeah. So if you become a member of our community, you will get your little metaverse townhouse so that you have kind of a digital physical address and that you might experience real neighbors suddenly. Yeah, and all these kind of things. And we leave the real estate questions open in the business city center, which is now the existing metaverse. If you're talking about partners who want to join the community, if they want to interact, if you want to give something to the community, that's the professional part. And of course, this is what you could call real estate business. If Disney wants to own its own building in our metaverse, yes, they can. And of course, we would charge something for that. But the community itself, they receive their own little house. We call it Miniverse. It's going to be your own little 3D environment. You can decorate your own environment like in that old Sims game back then. You can meet people in your own miniverse and do whatever you want. But you could go to the city and buy some furniture, for example, from a young designer who sells his 3D furniture as NFTs, for example. You see, the whole thing starts to interact like it is in a real city. And that's basically the intention. Let the things happen. There are some things where we as a media company want to have we want to be involved into that. But whatever is happening among the community and the users, they're completely free to do whatever they want.
Yeah, thank you for that. Thank you for that answer. And yes, real estate is becoming. We've seen. I think 1 month ago in Decentraland, there was a purchase for $2 million for a parcel. So it is already there happening.
Well,
Okay.
that was PR. I do not know what the meaning for Adidas is to have a piece of property in in Sandbox. I don't understand that. But it was a global news. It went all over the planet, and this is what actually I call a very well placed PR budget.
Okay. Yeah, indeed it was. Indeed it was. So let's now jump to another question, which Gary, you did mention before certain risks that the metaverse can pose, and also how to look at maybe to mitigate those risks. Do you think of any other risks that there is while we're talking about the metaverse?
It's interesting, Javier. I spoke at the United Nations a few weeks ago, and just to put it in context, they were talking about Boko Haram, and they were talking about ISIS and Al Qaeda, and it was the 76th Assembly. It was about 2 months ago, and I listened to this stuff, and I said, it's not about stopping war; it's about pro peace. So, I'd like to say let's not talk about the negatives. Let's talk about the positive parts of this thing. And let's talk about how it can be used in the right way. Of course, there's nefarious purposes. There's all kinds of nefarious ways that can be used. But, we have the greatest. Look at us right now. Javier, where are you today? What country are you in today?
Hungary.
Okay, you're in Hungary. I'm in Palm Beach in Florida. Indonesia, India. I'm not sure.
Austria.
Think about it. We're already there. We already started the journey. We are in a journey. We've got virtual backgrounds. We've got, filters. We've already started down the road of the metaverse. It's not if it's going to happen. It's already here. Look at this. 3 years ago, this would not have happened.
Mm-hmm,
we would not be having this StreamYard like we are right now. So we've already started our journey together hand in hand in the metaverse. The beauty about it is we're able to hold the hand to hand to be able to talk about these things, to air the issues, to be able to do something about it. And as we go further down in this journey, we're going to be able to do incredible things together, right? To make it a better place. Because part of being kind to each other is understanding. Part of being happy is to be able to do things and share. And that's where we are with this metaverse. So, there's tons of risk out there. There's always abuses. There's hacking. There's always things that can happen. Who knows what's real? I don't know. In another 2 years, my partner developed a AI called Morpheus. Morpheus yesterday did a movie for me. And the inside of that movie, he took a poem, or I call it him, right? But it took a poem and turned it into a movie, literally. And you're going to see, so what's going to be real and what's not. So we got to understand who is what. Is it a who, or is it just the machine learning that's developed something for us? Remember, we could have a utopian world where we could never come out of it. Now, is that real or not? So, some of the things as we go down through this journey, think about this. 20 years ago, if you had a mobile phone, you didn't pick it up that much. You kept it in your pocket. Now, every 3 minutes, you're picking up a phone. What is the phone? The phone is now an extension of you. What is a metaverse? You're going to be diving into that metaverse just like you did with your phone. You're going to be using it all the time. If you don't check your email every 5 minutes, you think you missed something. And if you don't check it in an hour, you can't find things. We're inundated with information, right? Infobesity. So the journey is we've got to figure out how to solve our problems together. We got to figure out how to be able to share differences. Soon it's going to be in the metaverse that you're going to be able to speak one language. It'll come out another language, right? Instantly. Mm-hmm. So you're going to even know, you're not going to have to even learn that person's language. You're going to be able, what is there, 187 languages in the world? More than that, actually. But have that capability is phenomenal. And then the journey, where do we go from here, right? There are 6 billion Earth-like planets in the Milky Way and an estimated 2.2 trillion galaxies in the universe. Humanity's just started to move forward, but we have to take care of problems now, Javier, that we have on our planet. We're fighting. We're doing bad stuff to each other. our climate. We've killed our, in another 20 years, the average temperatures around the world could go up 1.5 degrees centigrade. That's the not being able to turn back point. And by the end of the century, it could be 7 degrees. Well, what does that mean? That means the state of Florida could be underwater.
Yeah.
That's Mumbai, right? We need to do something. And the situation with oil and gas, it's not if we're going to run out, it's when. What happens? How many people heat their homes with oil? How many people heat their homes with gas? What are they going to do? We need to solve problems, take care of problems, because our children, our children's children are going to be faced with the mess that we make. Let's help them get through it. And let's use the metaverse in a good way to connect together to solve these incredible problems.
I completely agree with that. And I really like that comparison that you made about the cell phones. Remember at that time with cell phones, you can only send SMSs. And now with so much that you can do, it's part of you. I can see people that are running low on battery and they're freaking out.
Exactly. And if you don't check your phone, how many, if we're here, not many of us can put a phone down for 2 days and say, I'm not going to look at it, because it's almost like, I don't know if the diagnostic and statistical manual, the psychiatric manual, has explained it yet. But I mean, we feel isolated.
The DSM-4, yeah, not yet. I don't think so.
Yeah, I mean, it's like crazy. But if you don't have your phone, what happens? So, and at the other, here's another challenge we have. Talk about the metaverse. I mean, if you, with your email, we're inundated with email, and we can't understand how much data is being put in front of us. Well, imagine a metaverse world where we can start to understand and look at data in an entirely different way, right? Connect in an entirely different way, depict it in an entirely different way. So the beauty of it is right in front of us, and it's exciting times, but we need to. I remember there was an old movie called Indiana Jones and the Last Crusade, and he picked up the cup of Christ and said, make sure to use it wisely. Well, we need to make sure we use this wisely.
Yeah. I agree. Really nice. We have an interesting question from the audience. Srikant, I think this one will be directed for you. In the metaverse, about the risk, is there a risk of the profit regulations and taxation?
It would be um, it would be incorrect to assume that what happens in the metaverse stays in the metaverse. Of course, the question of profitability and other things arise when actual transactions happen. And if it's a very interesting question. And if a contract happens in the metaverse, can we come out of the metaverse and actually enforce it? Is something that actually blows my mind. And one more thing is, uh, how do you calculate the profitability of a metaverse? I mean, is it based on subscription? Is it based on a free entry to all, and so on and so forth? WhatsApp tried to monetize its customers, and it failed miserably. So, are we talking about a situation where metaverse is free for all, and there's not going to be any profitability which is coming in, or revenue which is going to come in from that particular free access? It's quite unclear, because the governments would very much like to be in the real world and not in the metaverse. And if you see governments in the metaverse, I would stay away from metaverse, because that's the last thing that I would want. I wouldn't want law enforcement in the metaverse, because it's supposed to be a utopian scenario, uh, is what my understanding would be.
Yeah, exactly. Like decentralized, and then obviously comes a central power to try to regulate it.
But let me point you to a very interesting statistic. I mean, the European Commission has yesterday announced something called a 15% minimum tax. Of course, you'll have to clear a certain level for it. How far will the law enforcement go to actually trace you, even in a metaverse, and find out what you're doing over there to corroborate what you do in a real life is something that's a philosophical question. I think Jordan Peterson would be better positioned to, or Carl Jung would be better positioned to answer that particular question.
Thank you. I had scheduled like three questions more, but due to time, I think we're gonna have to leave it for another session. Uh, just one, and this is for whoever wants to take this answer. Just that when, and I'll just post it up here as a last question. When will the metaverse become truly meta? What is the meaning of this? That they some analysts say that the moment that you can hop around seamlessly between platforms, like in the way like in Ready Player One, at that time we will really have a metaverse. Would you agree with that? Would you say that's the turning point into that the metaverse will come into full force? This is to whoever wants to take the question.
Yeah, I would say I would agree with that. So basically, what's happening now, a lot of developers are developing metaverses. But the idea is actually to connect all those metaverses to one, let's call it masterverse, to make it really easy to slip from one into the next and back and forth. And suddenly, as I mentioned before, the whole internet becomes something completely different. It's an endless experience, and wherever you want to go. Yeah. So that masterverse is completely endless, and gives you the freedom to, just walk through that digital space wherever and do what you want to do. And all those connected metaverses are participating from each other as I'm happy, as I mentioned, the car company. If I have a car company, a gate to a car company in my metaverse. I don't sell any cars, but if somebody is willing to buy a car, why shouldn't he go from my metaverse to the car metaverse? Or if I'm cooperating with the gaming industry, I'm not in the gaming industry, but I'm happy if my users can enter a gaming metaverse and come back if they want to discover something or experience something in my district. So I would agree. This is the direction I personally think it's all heading in.
Okay, thank you. Would somebody else like to comment on that?
Yeah, I could take that. For me, I like what Gary mentioned just now, right? About technology of cell phones and being a part of our lives. So I feel it'll become truly meta if metaverse is an extension to our world, our universe. So
Mm-hmm.
if I'm spiritual in a way. So we always talk about multi dimensions, right? So this is a manifestations of another dimensions in our life that everybody can feel and touch, and this is an important moment actually in humanity, that how we're going to balance this, because it's a very powerful tool. It goes back to the very existence of metaverse, of why do people go out and seek for another universe, right? Call us metaverse or whatever we want to call it. At the moment we call it metaverse, right? It's simply because that people are just not happy with the current situations and want to do something about it. So once adoption is global, and once it becomes like cell phone 10 years ago or internet 10, 20 years ago, right, until it is today, then that is when it's become truly meta. And you're right that it's not only hop on and off to one world to another world, but it's about blending in and accepting that it is a part of our life. And hopefully we're not going to be like Ready Player One in the real world. Hopefully, we could use this tool for the betterment of humanity, betterment of the environment, and also our lives. Because we are in the best positions right now. We've always talked about living to the fullest, and all those. And the technology is here. Anything that's repetitive will be done by machine, so humans can better enjoy our life and do something that we love. like gaming through play to earns.
Thank you. Thank you very much, Irene. Gary, would you like to say any closing comments?
Yeah, these are incredible times for each and every one of us. This is an incredible time for the world, and it's exciting. What we need to do is, as I said, just use it wisely. There are a lot of opportunities that are going to come in front of each and every one of us. New companies are going to come together. We talked about, the Germans have a phrase, Gestalt, the sum of the parts equal the whole. And this integration of these metaverse worlds together is going to be really important. So companies that focus on that, how can we trade between communities? How can the communities become one whole? That's going to be exciting. Tokenization of the metaverse, real estate in the metaverse. I mean, you name it. It's just going to be able to change things. But we got to remember too that that as we go through this blended world, there are things that are real and then things that aren't. And at some point in not too distant future, we're going to have a lot of things presented to us, and we're going to have to make some determination of what's real, even in the metaverse, and what's not.
Well, thank you very much. It has been an amazing, amazing topic. I would like to thank you, all of you, for giving us your time, your knowledge, your feedback. And definitely, I found so many topics that we can explore later on this month that we just touched the point of it. Social issues, more risk, consequences, advantages, and so on. So I hope to have you truly here again in another show this month about the metaverse. And I really, from the bottom of my heart, thank you very much, Irene, Gary, Srikant, and Hendrik, for sharing with us your knowledge. And to our viewers, please keep tuned until we have the next show. So once again, thank you very much for sharing with us.
Thank you. Bye-bye,
It was a
everybody.
pleasure.
Thank you.
Have a
Bye-bye.
great day.
I
Bye.
really like your meta